How you doing, Bill? Oh, I think you're muted.
Yep, I am muted. There we go. That's probably works a lot better now.
How's the drive back home from Indy?
It's a long drive.
Yeah, 8 hours in a car is long.
How was you took the beer exam, right?
I did, yeah. We met Sandy at Great Fermentations, and two out of the six beers I was probably like 4 points off of, but the rest of them I was pretty close on. I had one bigger miss where I called it a wood age beer when it was just an oxidized imperial stout. So that's I'll probably lose a couple points there, but other than that, I felt like it was pretty good.
Yeah, well, mine was the worst one, I think.
Oh, is that double IPA? You could smell the butter as they walked into the room with it. I'm like, ooh, I know what that is.
Yeah, once I discovered how badly I screwed that up, I reached out to Sandy and said, Sandy, would you like a great diacetyl example? And her response was, well, probably, age out. I'm like, no, trust me, it's not going to age out. It's not going anywhere. I was a little bit too much in a hurry, and I think I pulled it off the fermenter way too soon when I was screwing around with that.
Oh, I even said on my score sheet, I'm like, I can tell the bitterness and the hops were here if it weren't for like the aroma and the flavor of diacetyl. Like you can tell there's a good base beer behind it, but yeah, just it was pretty slick on the palate, that's for sure.
Yeah, I still have half a keg of that I need to figure out what to do with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Steve's going to enjoy it. I'll probably bring it to a club night and give it as an example of diacetyl.
He'd like that. I heard someone snagged the other bottle of the cat litter beer and brought it back to share at a club meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be interesting. It wasn't the worst beer I had over the weekend, that's for sure.
It wasn't bad. Honestly, the problem is once they say it, it's in your mind.
If you wouldn't have told me that, I would have never picked it up. But it was, I don't know, maybe it was
Because
just the
once they said
bias.
it, my first thought is smells like urine, and it's just because they said cat litter. I don't know why.
It had that, yeah, like perfumey kind of smell to it. But yeah, it wasn't an awful beer, that's for sure.
No.
Frank, what's going on?
Not much. Hanging out.
Sweet. All right.
I know Mr. Showing off his hat.
What was that, Bill?
Oh, Steve's showing off his hat.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, Steve, you're muted.
Whoops.
I thought I was talking the whole time. Yes, I'm showing off my cool hat all the way from Belgium. And I'm having a bottle of Ichabod dessert.
Oh, I see it sitting on my counter right there. I have that one, and I think I got the was it the Bobo, the Sangria cider?
Yeah.
That one's in the fridge. I'm gonna crack that after the announcements here tonight. We did the what was the cherry mead with Montmore cherries, the petulant one. That one we had that Saturday night after the awards ceremony, and that was awesome. I love that one. So I got a whole smorgasbord of stuff here to try. Steve, did you get to actually go to Cantillon, or did you just find those in a bottle shop?
No, I went to Cantillon, did the tour.
Oh my gosh.
Got the t-shirt, saw the band.
Wow.
To Orbal, to the monastery. And to St. Bernardus. We actually stayed at St. Bernardus and somehow met the owner. He was walking around his own bed and breakfast, and started talking to him.
Wow.
Went across down the road to West Veteran and got the hat. And then we went up to Bruges and went to Half Moon. Awesome brewery. Oh my God.
Wow.
Just incredible beer. And also spent way too much time in Delirium Cafe. because we're
Yeah.
there. So the beer nights. So.
Well, and you muled back quite a haul of stuff there too.
Yeah.
Stuff that, I mean, that's hundreds of dollars a bottle in the US. That is
And
insane the amount you bought.
I was drinking beer. Where was I? I think it was at Orval. And somebody said, "Well, how much would a bottle of this cost in the U.S.?" And I said, "Probably $8, maybe a bottle, right? Something like that." And they were laughing because it was like 2 or 3 euros a bottle for the stuff there.
Oh my gosh. What was a bottle of Chianti on there? I mean, I've seen those go upwards of,
It cost me like
$300.
$8. Each one of those bottles cost me like $8.
Oh my gosh. That is insane. Yeah, and that's liquid gold over here, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was hoping to get a bottle of their Creek, but they didn't have them in the big bottles.
Oh. You brought 2 of them back, right? 2 or 3?
Yeah, I brought the standard goose, and then there's one made with like honeysuckle berries.
Ooh.
So
Wow. I've had my fair share of Trefontaine, but Cantillon's still on my list, so I've been watching the secondary market, and just some of those bottles are stupid expensive, especially as they get older. It's so insane. But one day I'll get over there and try it.
keep her
Do
to fly.
honeysuckles have berries though?
I got to let me get the bottle.
Because I didn't realize honeysuckles had berries.
Do they really?
I don't.
Let me see what it says on the bottle.
Ooh, yeah, they just throw the
Well, I guess
flower
some
in
do. Says certain types of honeysuckle bushes do produce berries. Ah,
Interesting. Wonder if it like gets kind of floral.
yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
I mean, I've known people who've made stuff with the honeysuckle flowers and stuff.
I haven't tried that, but I have to imagine. I mean, I tried one with like cherry blossoms, and that tasted like florally crap. So I don't know. I maybe just some flowers are a little bit better than others.
It says blue honeysuckle. I just assume honeysuckle had berries, but
Well, no, there's some do. From what I was just reading on my Google Foo.
Interesting. Well, all right, let's get started. We just got a few announcements to go through. Thanks for everyone who came out last month. Frank, who did we have on last month? I wasn't even here. I wasn't here, I don't
That
think.
was Alex.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we did the Belgian single talk. So Alex did a really hilarious presentation on Belgian single. Which is great because we wrapped up that average brew and we're moving into our next one. If you guys haven't taken the survey, we have the Fest beer average brew out right now. So we're collecting data on that. So far it looks really good. Looks like your average Fest beer, which isn't terribly crazy. But I think that'll be a fun brew to have around for the fall months as weather kind of chills out a little bit all around the US. Belgian Single podcast is coming. Marshall is currently enjoying his anniversary vacation right now, so he has all of the shipments. One of them is still on the way, but it should be there the day he gets back to town, and then he will go ahead and schedule the podcast. So he's hoping to have it recorded by the end of July, and then just kind of tossed into the queue for when he can get that released. So that will be released most likely after the Fest Beer guidelines are out on August 1st. Brew Club competition series. So we have our competition circuit. I think we're 4 comps out of 9 done. We have Ozark Open releasing results this weekend. So I know quite a few of us are in on that. I got 3 myself, so really hoping to pull. I pulled 2 or 3 medals last year, so I'm hoping to pull a couple more because they look like they upgraded their medal game, so it looks pretty sweet. We got a few more coming up. I think Forget About It is still open. Beer for Boobs is still open, and then Copper State will open in August, and that will be our closers. So if you have entries or you need to get some points on the circuit, make sure you get your entries in Copper State because someone needs to take down Doug because he is way out in the lead. I don't think Trevor's on here, but I was going to give Trevor shit because he said he'd have us the um, prize outline done today, but he doesn't. So we are going to have a Delta Firm tank for the winter. We got a bunch of other stuff from BSG, from Five Star Chemical. We got some stuff from Lallemand. And the winner is going to have, we don't know if it's the winner or the top three that are going to have a really cool opportunity to work with Atlantic Brew Supply on something. So it won't be a ramp up opportunity necessarily because we figured that'd be kind of hard with the virtual nature. You wouldn't actually get to try your own beer if it was ramped up somewhere. So we got something else lined up. So Trevor, once he gets the outline built for the prize structure, we'll get that out to everybody so you guys can see it. Frank, I don't think we have anything else, do we?
No, I have 10 more of those coasters and stickers if people want to fill out the survey. That's all I got.
Sweet, yeah, you guys get them because those stickers are pretty dope. So
Yeah.
and the coasters too. Although I haven't used them, they're on my little coaster display. So
Beats more than bluey stickers, bro.
Yeah, and blue stickers too.
My stickers now live in Scotland in a couple of pubs. So,
that's awesome. There you go. Send Steve another one so he can have
Yeah,
some.
I'll
He can
send Steve another for that. Yeah,
so he can have some stickers at home too.
for sure.
Well, awesome. I guess we'll jump right into it then. We're gonna have Bill walk us through some cider and mead making. If you guys are at all even remotely competitive with your home brewing, you've certainly seen Bill's name on a few lists and more than plenty best of shows. I was amazed watching all of the competitions, especially the Circuit of America releasing results last year, and there's Bill Boyer on damn near every cider best of show. It was insane to watch. So I'm glad. I think it was Steve you mentioned Bill as a potential guest months ago, and we had it in the queue, and I just happened to reach out to Bill a couple weeks ago. We figured out we were in Indianapolis at the same time, so I got to meet him and chat, and we got to hang out and watch Bill win another best of show for one of his ciders, and it was awesome to watch him and quite a few others that we met that weekend take home some medals. So it was sweet, and I'm super super glad to have Bill here to walk us through the process because there's got to be some method. There's got to be a method to that madness. That's for sure.
There we go. Now I'm not muted.
There we go.
I threw together a quick PowerPoint, guys, so hopefully it's not a complete crazy rambling, but go ahead and just get my screen all set up properly here. You guys do see my screen, correct?
Yep, I can see it.
All right, cool. All right, so who am I? I've been brewing for about 15 years. I consider myself an average brewer, a above average mazer, and probably a good cider maker. Overall, I really consider myself really a prolific brewer. I don't necessarily make the best things all the time. I make a lot, and I have a lot of hits because of that. Roughly with meads and ciders, when I submit to a competition, my average is about 55% a chance I'll medal. A beer has a 33% chance. So I do keep a spreadsheet over the years and trying to track. And my goal personally has been trying to slowly increase that. Part of that is that when I do submit to competitions, it's not always about medaling. I do send a lot of things out there still to get good feedback from the judges. So if I'm making new stuff, I'm shooting off stuff. And that's really one of the reasons why I do send a lot of entries out. I probably, since 2021, have won over 500 awards, a couple best of shows. It's getting harder. I will say the competition the last couple of years is getting harder and harder every time. If anyone follows the competitive Facebook group, I am an admin there. And last year, I was the vice president of Master Homebrew Program. And recently, I just got elected for the American Mead Makers Association's Home Governing Committee. And though I make beer, I'm mainly known for meads and ciders. And if you ever want to follow me, I'm beerandfire.com. I came up with this name before I got known for making meads and ciders. So sometimes trying to create something so simple as beer and fire is a bad idea in regards of naming your home brewery. I also make hot sauces and grow my own ghost peppers and things like that too. Again, today's going to be kind of short. I kind of threw this stuff together after I got back from Indiana, trying to just make some coherent thoughts in regards of what I wanted to talk about. One of the big things I want to talk about was competitive mead and cider in competitions. And then I'll talk about some meads and cider making processes that I do. And then also I have a couple of recipes I can share out too. And then of course, if anyone has any questions, most of this will probably be Q&A. So in regards to competitions, my big belief is that judging is flawed. It is, unfortunately, as someone who's done as many competitions as I have seen the variance of scores all over the place. And one day I would love to see ChatGPT replace judging so that we don't have some of the issues. One of which, of course, is consistency. Every judge is different. They have different perceptions, things they're more sensitive to. Some people like things sweet, some people don't. In beers, this also happens in judging. But with cider, there's a bigger variance because the guidelines are sometimes so broad. And you also see that with sometimes beer guidelines that have larger gaps in between of the descriptions of it. It becomes harder for sometimes judge to do. And of course, objective analysis. Everyone's different. And again, with that mead, some people like it sweet, some don't. There's actually a regional bias. Certain regions will do better with different sweetness levels. For example, if the East Coast, they sometimes will score dry meads better than they would sweet meads. So you have a better chance on the East Coast to sometimes go for dry mead, where if you're sitting up to Minnesota, Wisconsin area, they have a tendency to like the more sweeter meads. So there is even a little bit of regional bias in regards of what I have seen in regards of scores. And of course, if anyone's ever had a pro brewer, they are sometimes the worst judges you've ever seen because they have egos, and they have to in order to be able to willing to sell their stuff and have people drink it. But they believe their stuff's the best. And one of my prime examples is I had a competition where I submitted a cider. One competition I scored a 45, judged on the same weekend, and another competition scored a 19. So we're talking about a huge gap. So one of my goals is to try to lessen that gap. I personally believe, in this case, I believe the judge was just completely wrong. But in a lot of cases, you will see these higher levels of differences because some people are more sensitive to different things. And again, you see this in beer too, and if you are a judge, you'll sit at a judge table, and I detect oxidation a lot easier than other people do. So I'll call that out where other people may not catch that. Diacetyl, different flavor profiles. So talking about competitions, especially with meads and ciders, there's a couple of hints in regards to trying to meddle more. One is always look at what the competition has done in the past in regards to how they group their entries, and also gives you an idea of entry count. A lot of competitions will lump all meads and cider into one category. So if you are doing a mead and a cider, guess what? You might be competing against yourself. This is I've seen this not happen as often as mead and cider in the last few years has gotten more popular. I'm starting to see some comps break it out. But I have seen comps who are so strict in their old way. I've seen 40 entries on one table because even though the popularity happened, they didn't change the way they decided to break out the meads and ciders. And also, when we talk about meads and ciders being broken as a couple tables, sometimes all meads are as one table. So you do have a large comp. Your traditional will go against your cherry meads and your spice meads and your specialty meads. Again, when we talk about chances of winning, a sweet fruited mead or a sweet spiced mead has a higher chance than a traditional to medal. Much like a sweet mead will typically have a higher chance than a dry mead to medal. So those are things to keep in mind. For example, in Indiana, I purposely did not want to submit anything dry because I knew the tables were going to be very large. So I purposely went more for sweet side of things. I do make a lot of dry stuff. I just have learned over the years to submit if I want feedback to any competition, but if I really want to have a chance to medal, I'll submit it to one where I think that it makes sense. Mead-only competitions a lot of times will fix this problem, especially on the traditional. They'll break it off by subcategories. And then things like Mazer Cup, Valkyrie's Horn will even break up the Berry Cat subcategory into sweetness levels too because of the number of entries they receive. And the other thing, and I hope that this doesn't offend anyone, when you submit a lot of meads and ciders, because they get put on the same table, you're competing with yourself. It's like self-masturbation with competitions. Because literally, I have swept sometimes, especially if I don't know how they grouped it together, I have at some competitions been 50% of the meads and ciders, and just because I didn't expect them to lump things together. So something to keep in mind. The first couple years when I did this, I didn't keep that in mind. Now, as I said, I pay very close attention. Not that I care to always bet all the time, but I like to at least have that possibility with a mead or cider in a competition. And so I wanted to share that because from my own experience of doing the amount I have, those are some of the lessons I have learned in regards of what to submit. And that's really the competition side. And again, if you guys have questions, we'll go over some of that. And so I'll go a little bit over some of the meads and thoughts, some of my deep thoughts about it. So when we talk about meads and ciders, beer is like baking. It's all about that brew day. When you mash, you do all this stuff, you spend your 5 hours of doing your brew day, and if you screw up, guess what? You're kind of done for it. It's going to be very hard for you to fix the beer. Meads and cider are like cooking. That initial brew day is pretty quick. You throw some water, you throw some honey, you throw some yeast extracts, stuff, and you start going. It's not necessarily easier or faster because you have a tendency to rack more often. You're adjusting things. You can fix things. So I have made some bad meads or meads that I thought have been bad, and they eventually have been able to fix them and save them without having to worry about dumping it. Where